Okay, guys, I actually don't think on it. My microphone's not on, so I'm not sure if you can hear me right now. Okay, now we're on. So this should be working now. Okay, so it probably sounds terrible as I'm moving the mic around. Okay, so nobody's on live. I've got one person on live now, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start going through people's videos. So what I've done is I've asked people to send in their training videos, ask questions about things they're working on. I'm going to critique them live now, give them a little bit of feedback. If they're not on live, obviously, they can watch the recording, and I'm going to show them what the things they should be working on. So let's have a look. Now, if you do want to put your videos, if you're watching this and you want to put your videos up for the same critiques, I'll try and do this every few days, maybe twice a week. I'm going to do this process and the post. So if you just go to my YouTube channel, let's check you can see this. I'm not set up correctly today. Okay, so if you come to my YouTube channel, you go to posts here. So posts at the top there, then you'll find live stream, your training critiqued. So there'll be a new post after today's. And then we've got 5 people that have put videos up. So now one person, you've just put skills, and then you've put like how to improve static holds. The idea of this one is not just questions. We want to see what your current level is and then things you're working towards. So if you stick a link up of your videos, just make it unlisted or public if you want everyone to see it beforehand. And then stick the link up there. It gives a little bit of background about your training. Then we'll give you some feedback. So let's jump in with this first one. So tuck planche, as per your feedback, and handstand practice. Okay, so we've got tuck planche position. So we can see at the moment we're getting feet off the floor in the tuck planche. We have nice straight arms. We have protraction, so round in the back. Now we can always improve on our protracted position, so our rounded upper back position. That's something constantly working on for the planche. But if we go back and look at that first one, so let's look at the without the band to start with. So this position here. So let's just pause it. Okay. So when we're in that position, we've got nice straight arms. We've got what looks like a very protracted position. It's always good to like at home or something, take your top off, do this position and video yourself so you can just see what your shoulder blades are doing. We want to make sure that you've got full protraction. You shouldn't be able to see your shoulder blades. Arms are dead straight. Ideally, with a planche, we're going to be aiming for roughly hips in line with shoulders. So you can see you're a little bit low relevant to your shoulders, but you're in a real nice tuck position, meaning the knees are sticking through nicely and the feet are off. So I think that's a really good training position. However, I would do 2 things. I would try and do a higher position for some sets and this lower position. And then over time, you'll have a happy medium in the middle. So how do we get into a higher position if we can't physically do it? So at the moment, when you go into position, what's probably happening is that you're trying to pull yourself up to the tuck planche. So if I'm pulling myself up to tuck planche, or pushing myself up, so let's mimic the same thing on the bars. So if I start in this position and then have to get myself to planche, I need to push up and protract. So I need to push up, and then it's really hard to try and lift up in that position. So most people, when they're practicing, will have this type of setup. So their hips are quite low, and it's like they're collapsed, and they're trying to pull themselves up. And even if you can get up into a stronger position, if you do it that way, you're actually using up a lot of energy just to go into the position. So if we think when we go into the planche, we want to use the least amount of energy to go into our position. So once we're there, we can get maximum time under tension with a perfect position. So what I'd recommend you do is actually make your planche position first, or your tuck position first. So there's my tuck. I'm getting into a tight ball. I'm going to come forwards and actually protract, push into that position. Toes are still on the floor. And then I step into the position and hold like so. So that way we're not using any energy. You're making yourself into the perfect position. And then with the least amount of energy, least amount of movement, we're just going to step into the planche. That's going to give you the best chance of having the most amount of working time under tension in your best possible position. So I would try that. Now, you can also do the one you're doing, but I just do a mixture of both. And then when you're doing the banded version, I'm a big fan of having the band in the opposite direction. So you've got the band pulling you backwards. So let's go to the banded version. Come on. Okay. So if we look at the band, see how the band is lifting up your hips. So the attachment point of the band is where the hips are. So what we want to do is have the attachment point actually in front of us. So we want to turn around the opposite direction. So then if you imagine now you've got the band on and the band is going up this direction, that's going to push you up in the right direction that we want the energy. We also always want our energy for the tuck planche or any planche to be up and forwards through the protracted scapular position, not backwards towards the hips. So all I do is I'll turn yourself around when you do the banded version. So it's pushing you up in that direction. So if we Photoshop the band out and you can't actually see it, it looks like you're in the perfect position. The issue with having the band pulling you backwards is normally your position is being pulled by the hips. So it actually looks like a false planche position. Okay, so hopefully that's giving you enough to go on. Let's have a look now at the next one. Okay, so we've got bent arm press attempts and then some handstand push-up attempts as well. So look from that position, we're coming up there, and then we do the same in a handstand position. So it's got some good balance already. So to be able to attempt freestanding reps, get some nice slow eccentrics, which is great. But if there's a bit of a pattern between both of those movements, is that the body is in quite a bit of extension, both on the eccentric and then when you're trying to come up from the floor on the concentric as well. Now, normally when we're going like a max position, our body is going to arch a little bit. So on the concentric reps of most people's handstand push-ups, their body is going to arch a little bit. But because your body's going to arch on the concentric, going back up the hardest position, when we do our eccentrics, we want to have, if anything, more flexion in the other direction. So when like more of a hollow body position. So when you go back up, you're not already in an extended position, so you can go down into it. And also, if you use overbalance to help you a little bit more, it's going to be much, much easier. So ideally, when we do handstand push-ups or bent arm press to handstand, we're going to use the overbalance to help us up. So these are good. This is a good demos as well, because I haven't warmed up for this. So these are going to be a little bit harder for me than if I had done a warm-up. So you're going to see me using the overbalance. So what we mean by the overbalance, so I'm going to start in more of a rounded position, more like a frog or crow position. And then from there, I'm going to go, look, there's the overbalance. So I exaggerated it so much that it actually took me over in this direction. Where what you're doing is doing more extension. So here, I actually can't do it. There we go. There. Like trying to lift up like that. So all your energy and weight is going back in this direction and you're arching. So it's like you're dragging yourself up. We want to be the opposite. We want to be more of a positive position. Same when we do our eccentric handstand push-up. If I'm here, I want to be more rounded through the back, more overbalanced. So then I can use it on the way back out, not extended. So one of the things you'll see a lot of people do is when they come down on their handstand push-ups, they bring their face to the floor. I bring more forehead to the floor, and that's going to keep you more of a dish position, less of an arch position. If you see anyone that's like banging reps of handstand push-ups, they can normally hold more of a hollow position. They're using the overbalance to help themselves out. Now, how do we practice that? You can practice that freestanding like you are, so do the eccentrics in the hollow, or you can go back to a chest to wall handstand push-up. So I can go here. Now, I want to try and keep the hollow like so. So I'm not arching towards the wall, but when I go back up, I'm leaning into the wall a bit more. So I'm getting used to committing to the overbalance, but I'm not arching towards it. So it's still sort of, if I get rid of that bent leg that's having my toe against the wall, it still looks like a really good handstand push-up. So be careful not to do this type of thing and arch as you come down. We want to make sure that our straight line, so our straight leg that's not on the wall, and our torso and our head and shoulders is all mimicking the correct position for a handstand push-up, like so. And then also with your bent arm press attempts, I practice crow to handstand. So that way you can get used to the shoulders coming down, hips coming up and going towards overbalance. So like so, overbalance to help me up. So I'm really making use of that, nearly falling over in this direction. And if you need to, do it back to wall if you feel more confident. But I think your balance is probably good enough. Geez, I'm trying to talk too much and demo at the same time. I'm getting out of breath. Let's put Rosie Cam on while I have a drink. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. Okay, hi Paul, it's been a dream for so many years to achieve frog to handstand, but I'm still struggling to get my legs off my knees. Is it just a case of keep slugging away at the Pike Push Ups? I've been trying so long, I've lost count of the years. I can usually get each leg at a time off. Okay, so let's have a look here. So we have a really nice crow position or frog position there. Now, the downside of this position for going up to handstand is that it's already very high. So if you look at how high the hips are and how forwards the body is, so you're going to get real, unless you've got brute strength to push you out of that position, you're in like the hardest variation of crow to handstand there. So even surprisingly, a lower hip position for crow to handstand is way easier because we can use the shoulders down, hips up movement. So see the hip is already like bottomed out or topped out, not bottomed out, topped out. So it'll be easier if I demo different variations and you'll see what I mean. So what we want is to have more of a position like this, where your position is more like this. So your shoulders are already down and your hips are already very high. So you just basically need brute strength to push you out. What we want to do is try and help you to get up by using more of the seesaw. So we need to get very good at starting more in a squat position, taking the head and shoulders down and the hips up. See how easy that was then? Because it was one movement where the shoulders come down, the hips come up, and then I go. Instead of being already at this position with no momentum and then expected to push out of that position. I can do it, but I'm quite strong in my push. And after years of practice of that, I can muscle my way through those positions. But you can tell by my voice that that one was much, much harder. So we want to get very good. Just practice that squat, crow, head and shoulders down, feet off a little bit. And I'd probably not do the single leg version for you because you're so good at balance in the single leg version, but not using the momentum to help us up. And then the other thing we want to look at is your handstand down to your frog or crow position. So we need to mimic that pathway with the eccentric. So making sure you know where you're going to. So if you can't hold a freestanding handstand that's strong and you can get to like here and back again, when you do get up to that position, you're not going to like know where you are. So we need to make sure that you've got a strong freestanding handstand, and then you can slowly come down to your crow or frog position. So from here, I can slowly come down to that position. Now we can do it chest wall, back to wall. You can practice going up this way and walking up and coming back down. And then we can practice, probably the better one if you've got the confidence to do it, is here and then push and see if you can find the wall. Just building that confidence with overbalance. So there's a few like unknowns in terms of where your other gaps potentially are. But that should hopefully give you enough. That's a really common position to be in, or to be stuck in and feel like you're not making any progress there. Okay, someone's jumped in at 6 minutes ago. Let's have a look. Actually, I think I missed someone's handstand balance as well. They put 2 videos up, and I think I've skipped that. Now, if you're on the live stream, just say what your goal is at the moment. I haven't looked through the comments, but if you're on the stream, Owen, at the moment, can you just go what your goal is in terms of movement? Obviously, I think you're working press to handstand, maybe. So you're kicking up, body against the wall, and then slowly rolling the body down. So you're doing an eccentric press handstand. So I'm assuming that's what the goal is and what you're working on at the moment. Are you in the chat? Once I've gone for everyone's critiques, I'll go back and have a look for the, okay, press to handstand. Okay, cool. So basically with press to handstand, let's have another look at it. Okay, so we're doing an eccentric. We're keeping the body on the wall for a long time. We're rolling down through the spine, and we're touching the toes down very, very lightly. So you've got a good foundation of your eccentric for the wall variation. So what we need to focus on and make sure we have is enough weight and energy forwards and up. So you want to make sure that when you're doing a press handstand, my energy needs to not be forwards in that direction. So if I'm trying to press here, I don't want to just have force in that direction because I've got a face plant. I want to make sure that I'm going like that direction. So when we're pushing to the wall for our eccentric, we need to be like this the whole time as we come down. It looks like you're doing that nicely. You're bringing the knees in, you're rolling down the spine, but the movement goes all the way down to the feet. So you're probably at the level now where you can start to pause in positions. So try and feel the point where you start to nearly fall off the wall and pause before that happens. So externally rotate the hands, do what you're doing, go close to the wall. And then as you come down, just test the wall a little bit. Go push the low back into the wall now and see if you can go back up. See how that feels. Go down a little bit further. See if you can come back up. If that feels okay, see if you can go all the way down. Trying to tickle the floor with the toes and then back up again. And then once you've got that, we're going to do exactly the same thing, but we don't want to be leaning on the wall so much. So we want to be lightly pressing against the wall and coming down, but doing the same thing where you're just lightly coming down a little bit, coming back up until you can go all the way down and lightly touch the floor. Also working on toe pulls, under balance, and freestanding and handstand to make sure they're all there, plus your mobility work. But that one drill of trying to go back up, like partial range and back up again, will be really good for you, I think, because you've got good eccentric, and I think you're using a good balance of your strength and available flexibility at the moment. But you have to sort of play around with your strengths and weaknesses to get your first press. Okay, we whizzed through those. Let me just double check. We don't have any new ones. People can be fast. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, let's have a look through the questions now. And obviously, if anyone else is on live who I've just critiqued, if you've got any follow-up questions or anything, it's really good. Because I think you guys are going to learn more from watching other people that are working towards similar skills that you are, as opposed to me just demoing stuff. So I've like purposely decreasing the amount of content that I'm putting up at the moment because I was putting up a lot of the same thing over and over again. And instead I want to try and help you guys, and I'm putting all the videos are going to go more onto my app. Okay, and is anyone that's probably maybe still a little bit early, but if anyone's on from the UK, my workshop now is available for booking in August. I'll be in CrossFit Nottingham on the 10th of August. The info is in the description down below. Okay, let's have a look. Hey, I want to learn 90-degree handstand push-up. Great goal. How should I practice it? 100% depends on your current level. You obviously need to have a very, very strong standard handstand push-up on the floor, freestanding, and a deficit handstand push-up. So you need to make sure that you can take your head and shoulders below your hands and go back up again. Once you can do that, slow eccentric 90 degrees, and also spend some time on the bent arm planche and just playing with bent arm planche to shoulder stand type movements. So getting really good at this type of thing. Again, I'm not warmed up and I'm super sore still from high bouldering again the other day. My body's just not used to it. So bent arm planche positions and going up to shoulder stand, that type of thing. Hanging out in that bottom position, turning and going back and forth there. It's probably easier if you've got higher P-bars or higher boxes so you can dip your head and shoulders down. So make sure that then you're going from a deficit handstand push-up, which is a shoulder stand, down to your bent arm planche. I've got quite a few videos on 90-degree handstand push-ups where I go through the drills, but it is very dependent on your current level, where your gaps are. What's your freestanding handstand push-up like? That type of thing. Because you really do need a freestanding for 90 degrees. Normal handstand push-ups, you can go all the way on the wall until you run out of freestanding or being able to move over to freestanding. From your point of view, which is harder, handstand push-up or handstand press? Very dependent on the individual. I would do a hybrid between the two if it was me, and that would be the easiest version. So
when should I schedule it for?
Oh, Jesus. Set Siri off. Lost what I was going to say now. Oh yeah, which is harder. So I would say a bent arm press to handstand is somewhere in the middle, and it's easier for most people because it just means that you can get to this position. So it's not a full handstand push-up, which is challenging. It's not a full press handstand, which is very challenging as well. It's like a hybrid of the both, which works very well for a lot of people. So here, come into this position, bending the arms a little bit, and then pressing up. So, is that a press handstand? Is it a type of bent arm handstand push-up variation? I don't know. It depends what you want to call it. But that would be the easiest. And then it depends on flexibility, strength, and things like that, whether handstand push-up or press is easier. And also interests. When it comes to calisthenics skills, you really want to go towards the things that you're passionate about. Don't think you need to do what everyone else is doing. Work on what you need to do. I don't know what's up with Rosie. She had a breakfast early this morning. I reckon she's hungry. Finally got onto one of these lives. Awesome, Ryan. If someone is having trouble reaching the wall with the lead foot, which would be better regression, using a box or step to reach the wall, or trying out the forearm stand? Yeah, I wouldn't. It depends on the individual, because when you've got someone that can't kick up to the wall, you need to get them upside down, and you need to get them to enjoy what their training is. So that's sort of the main thing. So I'm not a big fan of using forearm stands, headstands, and things like that in terms of learning to handstand. However, if the person really wants to do inversions and they're really struggling with getting up, I would go down that route as well, while trying to teach them to kick up. But the main thing is just trying to build conditioning so they've got nice and strong in their arms and shoulders, and they can support their weight. Putting their feet up on a chair, handstand position, and just stepping back down, doing that every day to build confidence in the position. And then you can do the box one where you step up, you can help people up. I've got one of those like toilet seat devices that you put your head in, and then they put their legs up in the air. Again, it's not great at teaching them to kick up, but it's great at conditioning their inverted position. Using rings is cool as well, as getting them upside down on the rings, doing like an inverted hang. That can work. But the main thing is just making sure they've got lots of weight in their hands, their shoulders, and their upper back. And then when they kick, bend in the top leg and just focus on touching the lead leg, kissing the wall very lightly. Get them out of the mindset that they're actually kicking to the wall. Like try to get both legs up. And then if they can lightly touch the wall, just slowly take that higher and higher. So, making sure that this is very solid, their hands, their shoulders, their focal point, and do that, come back down. And just build on that. Make sure they're not doing this, because they'll probably do that every time. So their shoulders are getting away from their hands. Make sure that's where they are every time until they can touch the wall. And then once they can touch the wall, they can just start to take the foot higher and higher until they eventually can get up. But it's a little bit of like working out the person, what they need, what they enjoy doing. Because a lot of people, I'll get people that come to handstand class and they won't be able to kick up to the wall, and then they'll give up. So you want to try and find a way where, because I believe everyone can do it. They just need to find their pathway of doing it. Is this the video review stream? Yes, I've just reviewed the videos from the last submissions. I'll be putting a new one up soon as well. Overhead shoulder mobility routine video, please. Yeah, there's one already on my I put one up recently that I really like. Actually, I think it's a good for most people. It's a little bit different from just saying you need to stretch your shoulders. So I talk about the thoracic a lot in it. Just checking I get the right one. Okay, so it's there. Stop stretching shoulders for handstands. So just search on my channel for that one, and I go through overhead mobility on there. I've got a couple of others as well, but that's my latest one. Random question: how did your weight change as you got older? I'm trying to gain weight, but it's not working. My weight's just like, I'm 49 this year, and I only need to look at a piece of bread and I put on like 4 kilos. So I'm always trying to keep as lean as possible, especially obviously with calisthenics. I've never had an issue in gaining weight, even when I was younger as well. So yeah, it's very individual, the gaining weight, losing weight, and things. Yeah, I personally actually don't do anything on nutrition, weight loss, and stuff like that, because it is such a challenging thing to cover. Yeah, and I just didn't want to go into content on that because I'm not an expert on it either. The big thing I'm into is just doing the training that you want to do. And then obviously if you're 50 kilos overweight, it's going to be an issue. And if you're tiny, it's going to be an issue as well if you don't have strength. So you need to then work towards your goals, but make sure they are your goals. And then the side effects will be that your body will change. Oh, that's mine. Okay, awesome. You got the video. That's good. Actually, guys, I need to go back and just do one more on. There was a balance video that I missed. Okay, so doing the under balance drill, bringing the toes off the wall. So see how the body is arching, and then when he goes back to the wall, his stomach, his hips are touching the wall first, and look what his head does. See the head difference? So in terms of coming off the wall, you're doing everything right with the shoulders and the head, but the body's like sagging when it comes off the wall. So we want to be more of a positive position, not a negative position when we do that under balance drill. So you want to be in a position where you're coming off the wall like this. And then see how my head stays exactly the same even when I go back to all my toes touch. So it's like this, not like this. See the difference? I'm exaggerating, but you're disconnecting from the hands, the shoulders, the focal point, the base that should be balancing you and being in control 100% of the time. Some of that, everyone, when they're learning, arches back towards the wall. The wall's the safety, back splatting is the scary part. But if you can make that a little bit more positive and create a little bit more consistency with the head position, you'll make that much easier. And then you just want a little push up, keep looking down towards the floor as you push back up a little bit, and just make it a little bit more dishy and less extension-y. Okay, are wooden parallettes good for planche training? Yeah, 100%. That'd be those wooden ones I've got there, Rosie's sitting with. Yeah, but I've also got metal ones. I tend with the metal ones to put tape around them. Just they can be a bit harsh, the metal ones. And I've got those ones as well. They've got the spongy thing on them, but you see again, I've got the tape. That tape is actually for muscle ups. The thickness is the thing that I don't like. I don't like the little tiny parallettes you can buy, the really small ones that got a tiny little base and the handle's really skinny. I'm not a fan of using those. My planche sucks on those. I can't commit to them. I'm used to those longer ones. They're much more meatier. But that's down to personal choice as well. Paul, thanks for the work you do. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Not sure what that means. Hi, Paul. Happy to join your live stream. I improved my handstand by watching your videos. You're a great teacher. Thank you very much. Great to hear. I want to do tuck press handstand. That's my goal. Perfect. Just keep working on that mobility. Make sure your under balance is fantastic in the handstand, and make sure that you're working like tuck planche, and you'll get a tuck press handstand, no problem. Okay, press handstand. Yeah, we answered Owen's video. Paul, I have a question. I managed to do a muscle up on the rings. Awesome, using your videos. That's awesome. What, however, I still miss are straight legs when going up. I always tend to bring them up to the body core. Yeah, so you're just using a little bit of a kip or energy. So you're creating movement. So as we come into a ball, it helps us and lifts us up. What I'd probably do is try going into like a bent leg position, like a semi L-sit position. So have the legs out in front, pause that, and then so you get more of a rocking, flowing muscle up. That's why I like front lever muscle up. So once you get them right, are actually easier than a standard muscle up because you're using that counterbalance where the legs are coming down, the hips and shoulders are going over the top of the ring at the same time. So I would use like an L-sit type movement, and just make sure that you're still doing the drills that helped you get the muscle up in the first place. Because there's another sign as well that your muscle up, especially the transition or the false grip pull, is not strong enough. And you just need to make it a bit stronger. You know, when we get our first reps of whatever we're working towards, it's probably not 100% finished in terms of the exercises to get there, and we need to keep doing those and not just do the thing anymore. So it could be that. Doing a great job, mate. Thank you very much. How to keep your body straight while performing that back to wall handstand balance drill. I always look like a banana while doing it. So it could be mobility. So your shoulders have come forwards into a position of strength. So they're more like that instead of being above your head. So then your body bananas to create balance because it needs to get the legs and the hips over the top because your torso is actually going the opposite direction. But I would also train chest to wall holds and like tuck slides or chest to wall tuck position to create conditioning and mobility in the upper back and shoulders while you're doing it, and just copy that. You know, how good can you make the chest to wall position look? And that'll give you an idea of how it should look in the back to wall. But just make sure that when you are doing the chest to wall, that you're looking down towards the floor and mimicking your handstand position. A lot of people will look towards the wall when they're in a chest to wall and make this really unachievable straight position when they try and do freestanding. And if you try and balance with that straight position that you actually physically can't get into, especially when you're looking down towards the floor and balancing, then you won't be able to balance. So you need to sort of have a happy medium. And don't overly worry about, as long as you're doing the drills okay and you're pulling the heels off the wall, don't overly worry about body shape at the moment. Just make sure that you can do the drill successfully. And over time, your handstand will get straighter and straighter. I see more people having issues because they're trying to make their handstand too straight than people who just focus on the balancing. How could I improve my shoulder and wrist strength for the press to handstand? I do incline pike push-ups and handstand push-ups. What else could I improve the strength? Also, wrist hurts badly. I just turn the hands out and create a bit more space. Just make sure that you are out a little bit and hands out. You're probably forcing the press by taking the shoulders too far forwards. So if you go a little bit wider and you externally rotate, that creates a bit more space. And just make sure that you're not doing drills that are outside your ability at the moment, because you might be putting too much stress, intensity, energy into the wrists by forcing your body into positions that it's not quite ready for yet. So maybe back off onto some slightly easier progressions. That's a tricky one without assessing you. Is hard to give you exacts. Shrugged versus normal handstands, which is optimal for calisthenics training? You want an elevation, so you want to be pushing away. So we don't want to be in this position. Like you want to be in that pushed position, but not so you can't hold a conversation. So it wants to be you're pushing. Imagine if you had a heavy barbell or dumbbell in your hand, you wouldn't just like sag down. You would push up against that force. It wants to be that same type of thing in the handstand. So you've got some push to it and you're not down. There's very few people that try handstands now. Like it used to be in the yoga world that people used to say you wanted to have depressed shoulders in a shoulder blades in a handstand, which is just crazy from a physics point of view. Lost where I was. Should I train 90-degree holds more just for 90-degree handstand push-up? I'll do both. So I would be doing your bottom, anything you're training, you want to be training the top position, the bottom position, and the transition. So you want to make sure you don't have any gaps there. So whether it's press handstand, train the top, the bottom, and the transition, exactly the same for all the handstand push-up variations. Hey, Paul, I made a mistake in putting the clips together in the link I sent. There were 2 tuck planche attempts at the end. Okay, I'll have a look back through in a second. If not, I'll do it in the next one. Because I am going to have to fly in a minute. How many spaces are there in the UK day? Will it be all day? So the UK one is 3.5 hours. So it's from 12 till 3:30. And I'm going to go through handstand balance, handstand push up, and handstand press, the line of progression for those. So from a beginner all the way to the advanced movements. So the idea is that a complete beginner can come to the workshop and they're going to learn their routes or their pathway through the progressions all the way to the advanced stuff. And then if someone comes in who's intermediate or advanced, they're going to understand, do they have gaps in any of the things that they've already worked up to, and then what are their next steps to the more advanced ones. So I will be covering like how to balance a 2-arm handstand all the way through to a 1-arm handstand, but I'll be, speeding it up, slowing it down, depending on where the group is at. The plan is if I get up to 20, I'm going to probably open up a second day. So we're at, I think half the places have gone now. So I'm at 10 or 11 have sold. So once I get to 20, I'm probably going to open up the Saturday at the same venue. That's sort of the rough plan at the moment. Last time I came, I done 2 different workshops and I had like 28 in both, I think. I like between 20 and 30 in a workshop. It works really well because you partner people up and get them working together. And I want you guys to be able to self-assess and assess each other and help people through the progressions and really understand it that way. So that's the plan at the moment. Last time I done 2 hours in the morning, break 2 hours in the afternoon, but I sold them as separate workshops. I teach the workshops a little bit different now, and I think it's a better way to do it because you have some people that think they're advanced and they're not, and you have some people that think they're beginner and they're not, and vice versa, or they might have advanced on one skill but not so on the other. So and I've left it open as well, where I might do other skills and things depending on what the group wants to do. So that's the plan. Could you please give us tips on straight at push up handstand? On straight, I'm not sure what you mean there. Can you rotate your shoulders 360 degrees like a gymnast? If yes, can you make a tutorial on shoulder mobility and how to achieve it? No, I can't. I can't do like what do you call that? Dislocate on rings. No, I'm very naturally very tight. You can do a quick simple test. If you do this with your hand, pull down on your little finger, see where mine gets to. If yours goes at 90 degrees in that direction, you'll probably be able to do dislocates. Whether I recommend you should do dislocates or not is a different matter. But I'm very, very tight naturally. So if I don't stretch every day, I lose my flexibility really quickly. And I've had to fight to get my flexibility because I'm naturally tight. And I personally wouldn't train towards dislocates. 360 pull on the rings is amazing strength exercise, and I use skinny cats and that all the time, but I don't teach dislocates. I had no experience in it, I'm way too tight. How can I train handstand push up and handstand press as frequent as possible without fatigue? Again, it's down on your training level, your conditioning, and make sure you're just mixing in enough mobility, balance, and then I would just alternate your days. So just do a bent arm day and a straight arm day, and alternate those with a rest day every 3 or 4 days, depending on how your body feels. But it also depends on how intense, because I can write a program for people, but you don't know the intensity each exercise is. That's the trouble with these type of skills. Like I can do handstand push-ups and have a conversation with you, that means that intensity is very low for me. But someone else who's newer to it or has a bad position doing a handstand push-up, they'll be like maxing out, holding their breath on 1 rep. So it's very hard to get the intensity correct and give people programming. It's really, really challenging. The best way is just to listen to your body. So I would alternate days, rest every 3 or 4 days, just do balance or have a complete rest day, but just make sure you're still doing your mobility. And if you're making progress, then what you're doing is correct. If you're not making progress, then there's an issue and you need to, have a look at it. It's that's the trouble with programming. That's why when I design my app, it's very, very challenging to write the programs in a way without overloading people with loads and loads of exercises. I do try and keep everything I do personally, I program and on my app as simplistic as possible. So try and do really very few exercises per skill. So you're not doing multiple things and where is he? Shush. Tuck planche to advanced tuck planche. Yeah, the biggest thing with tuck planche to advanced tuck planche is there's a massive range. So you don't just do tuck planche to advanced tuck. So if I'm going to go into, so let's just look at the positioning. If I'm in a tuck planche position, so my knees are through my arms like that, you can see my knees, and my advanced tuck is this. Look at that range. So I go from there, flat back, all the way to there. Think that your next progression from this is this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then this. And that might be a month to go from each of those progressions. So the biggest mistake people make is they go straight from a tuck planche to an advanced tuck in a day and wonder why they can't hold it. It's a massive difference. So think that you're slowly, progressively opening up. A good way to do it is to use bands to help you play with more advanced positions. Hi Paul, regarding handstand push-ups, should my scapula be in a protracted and pressed position? Because it's overhead pressing, it's a little bit different. I wouldn't worry about it whatsoever. You just want to have good technique on your drills. If you start worrying too much about positions of the scapula and things when you're doing dynamic movements like that change from this position all the way to overhead position, the scapula's moving, I wouldn't try and focus on that. I'd try and focus on sorry about Rosie, guys. I would try and focus on the correct technique of the drills you're working and make sure you're doing the reps and sets, and just focus on that. Don't focus on the analyzing what the scapula's doing. Thanks. And does training the front lever on pull days stabilize the handstand push-ups more? Everything works together nicely. If you're working straight arm strength, bent arm strength, pushing and pulling, whether the front lever stabilizes the handstand push-up movement or not, I'd probably not. I wouldn't look at it that way. I would focus on, again, good technique of your handstand push-up work. You could probably get really good handstand push-ups and never train front lever. I would do something like a skin the cat. If your priority is handstand push-ups, I wouldn't overly worry about front levers and stuff. I'd do them, but do them as a secondary movement and focus on just having something like a skin the cat in the program that's going to give you lots of mobility, pushing and pulling, and really tick all the boxes on your straight arm strength. I'd keep it as simple as possible. How to have strong joints. I have elbow tendon pain if I do 20 plus push-ups in a set. Again, I would just make sure that you're not working super high repetitions, super low repetitions, and bad technique, and making sure that you've got enough mobility, and you're not jumping in, from not training at all to training 7 days a week really hard. Your body's going to take a lot of time to adapt, and your joints, your tendons and things are going to take much longer to adapt than your muscles will. How long can someone realistically maintain advanced skills like handstands, muscle ups, and front levers? Is it realistic still be able to do them in the 50s? Yeah, 100%. I'm 49 this year, and I intend to be doing this until, I don't know, 70s, 80s. There's some real, if you search it on YouTube and Instagram and stuff, there's people doing some really cool stuff at older age. You just have to get really smart with your training. And I think you can do high level calisthenics type skills older with less issues than if you try and do Olympic lifting or powerlifting or something into that age. But obviously it's individual. I come to say hi and thank you. Awesome. Appreciated. How do you train under balance back to wall? Under balance back to wall, you can do it, but rarely you're going to learn it with your chest to wall. But you can do it by going, just pull from the wall as far as you can, and then take yourself back to the wall using your shoulders. So if I'm here and I pull myself off the wall, I get to handstand. As soon as I go too far, look how the shoulders come forwards. Now I'm in my under balance handstand, and I can go back again. So it's learning how to move with the shoulders to take yourself on and off the wall between under balance and over balance. But that's easy for me because I've become an expert at the chest to wall version. It's really the chest to wall one that's going to give you that. However, I still teach people that one, especially people that are scared to do the chest to wall version, but you're going to struggle to really get strong in the under balance. Are wooden powerlets good for planche training? Yes, depending on the thickness and the size. I prefer ones like that. Okay, guys, 46 minutes. I'm going to switch off unless we have any other quick questions. I need to feed Rosie because she's being a pain. So I will put another post up like the critiques one I started the video with. So if you want to get your videos, your training videos critiqued, just give a little bit of information about it, about what you're trying to achieve. Stick your video down. Obviously, I'm going to do it on live, so you've got to be happy that your videos are going to be shared that way. There's a good insight. This is how I do my online coaching as well. Obviously, I do assessment, a program for people, and then they send me videos. I critique the videos constantly back and forth, and it works really well. So it's a good insight for you guys, and hopefully it helps with your training and it helps to see each other as well. Have a nice day and trip to Great Britain. Yeah, it's not till August, but I mean, August is going to be here really quick. Okay, I'm going to sign off, guys. Have a good day. Stay safe. Happy training. Speak to you soon.